totally dependable, plumbing and electrical. 0800 get laser.
Celebrating 25 years of Laser, I'm Kyle, the GM of Laser Group, and this is Laser Across the Network, where legacy meets leadership.
Growing the business and having a focus on getting bigger and better is just good for you?
Hey, so Mike and Josh, Laser Electrical, Rosebank, and a few others. I'm actually going to let you guys do the introduction because I don't know I'll do it justice. So Mike, we'll start with you.
I'm Michael Clemmett. I'm the Managing Director at Laser Electrical Rosebank. We also have Laser Electrical Remuera, and we've recently invested in Laser Plumbing Tauranga and Laser Plumbing Drury.
Great. Josh, business partner to Mike.
So I'm Josh Lawrence. I've been part of the Laser family since 1999. I started my apprenticeship at Rosebank and left briefly to work for Laser Electrical in Melbourne and then returned to Laser Electrical Rosebank.
And I think that's the beauty for doing a podcast. I didn't know that about you, and just even before we sat down and we recorded, we were telling stories about what's happened across the week, what's happened across the day, and we'll learn things through these conversations. But I think the benefit for today is learning a bit about your style in terms of how you guys work together, how you've grown quite a business. And when I say quite a business, Josh, we were joking before, the flagship business of Laser Electrical or the Laser Group is Laser Electrical Rosebank sometimes, for it's the largest.
Why were you joking?
Yeah, not even joking. Let's start with your partnership, actually. So, Mike and Josh, you occupy different responsibilities yourselves in running of such a business. Josh, you first. What are your responsibilities and how do you manage the relationship with Mike?
Primarily, I head up the estimating team at Laser Rosebank. We've got 6, including myself, that deal with the pricing. Hang on, 6? 5. 5 includes. That's not a good. That's an effort for estimating.
He's made the team bigger.
I've added an extra percentage there.
Mike, we'll talk about your day-to-day before we talk about the higher level stuff in terms of running a business. So what are your day-to-day?
Well, just back, actually, fun fact about Josh's intro. When he left Laser Rosebank, he was my boss. And then he went away for a few years and came back and I was the boss. And I had to give him a job. So that was good power play. It was an
easy decision to give him a job that I'd expect.
Yeah, we moved into a different department though, from where
he
previously was. So day to day, I guess I'm the managing director. And although our company has grown and it's reasonably sized, it's not that much different than what the other guys are doing. It's still very much a day-to-day role. You're not spending your whole life strategizing and planning. It's still very much nuts and bolts, like helping with projects, helping with pricing. My role primarily is involved in that day-to-day stuff and then also sales. So I'm the main sales function for the company.
But from a partnership perspective, just how are you guys managing together in those responsibilities and how does the partnership work for you guys?
It's a real strength of the business. Josh and I are cousins, so we've obviously known each other our whole lives and we've got a very strong relationship. We've tried to set our partnership up to get the best of both worlds. So we've got a 50-50 shareholding. So we share everything. We're on even terms at the shareholding level. But then we get into the operational level, we haven't got 2 bosses. And what we've seen is potentially a weakness in some of the other businesses that are partnerships. They're running 2 bosses. And so they've got the benefit of having a partnership, but then we see that as not optimal for the day-to-day running of the company. And so Josh and I, we keep things even at the shareholders level, and then we're into the operational level. We've got one manager of the company, and that's me.
You'll ring me on the way back from every sales meeting or opportunity that you have to debrief me on how it went or what they said or where the opportunity lies, or you'll strategize that angle straight away.
And what do you do with that information, Josh? Are you a sounding board? Are you providing a opinion to something, or are you just going?
Say, Mike, I'm in the middle of pricing, mate. Can you leave me alone?
Yeah,
it's really good. You've had a great sales meeting, but I'm busy.
Yeah,
I think it is a strength of Rosebank from what I've seen, and it can be a weakness where you don't have the roles as clearly defined between 2 other 50-50 shareholders. How did you guys come to decide that Mike day to day would have the ultimate operational call?
Well, I think you just need to look at each of our personalities to come up with that was the right scenario.
It had already been the structure before we were in ownership. So when we were just employees of the company, I was the manager and Josh wasn't. And then when we had an opportunity to buy into the company and take over, it was pretty simple. We're like, well, this works.
It's working today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you happy? Yeah. Am I happy? Yeah. Well, let's just keep doing that. We've been doing it for ages. It wasn't really like a new thing. We didn't have a new structure. So actually doing it that way was basically the status quo.
And I think it's really important background for which to establish, right? There might be other people out there thinking, I'm looking at bringing in a business partner. How does that work? How do you guys see that growth has been enabled by having such a clear partnership?
It's definitely like a force multiplier. So we might only have one managing director, but we've got two owners in the business working in the business every day. There's things that Josh does and takes responsibility for that I don't need to know about at all. And just in the like real spirit of partnership, we both have young families. We both like to travel and do things like that, and we're both really supportive of each other doing that. And so if Josh wants to go away on holiday, I'm happy that he's going away on holiday, and I'll happily look after his work. It's not like, oh God, I've got to take on this extra stuff. It's like, this is what we signed up for. That's why we're in partnership. You go and have a holiday, I'll do that stuff, and then when you get back, I'll be happy for you. And then later on, I'll go away and roles are reversed. It gives us more action for work, but it also gives us better work-life balance as well.
Yeah, and I like the turn of phrase that you use from a force multiplier perspective. When you're talking about working in that regard, 22, 23, 24 years is the average for you guys together, right? Yeah. Give a idea as to how Rosebank has grown in that time. And through the intro, we spoke about a little for Laser Electrical Remuera, so we'll come to that. But how's Rosebank in particular grown over that time?
From my perspective, the best representation of that is the building that we're in. It must have been through about 7 or 8 different renovations over the years, as it's like grown and shrunk, and more workshop, less office, then back to more office and less workshop. And that's kind of like a physical representation of the growth of the business.
There's probably some things that have helped you grow across that time. And, when I walk into your premises, I see values on the wall, which your average member might not necessarily have. What humps have you guys had to overcome at different stages of growth, Mike, to get to where you are today?
There's been a few kind of walls we've run up against. Sometimes that's the market, and you're trying to grow, but the market's just not there. But typically it's been about having the right people, having the right resources within the team so you can actually keep the thing going. So if I think back to some of the key decisions we've made, one would be getting enough estimating resource into the company. To grow the business, you have to be able to price a lot of work, and you have to be able to price a lot of random opportunities and 50-50s and maybe less, maybe 10% chance of winning the job. And if you've got that estimating resource, you can get to it. We're kind of led with estimating. If we wanted to grow the company, we add more estimating in. Second key point was we got to probably about a team of 60-ish. It was hard to keep the momentum up with recruitment and retention. We're all busy and someone would leave, and then it would take, 2 weeks to sort out a job ad, and then 6 weeks to hire someone, and the recruitment was pretty haphazard. And we weren't doing the best job of, training and retaining our people either. So a real key decision was we created an HR role in the company. That helped us get through a period where it was really hard to recruit and retain staff. Most people would see HR as just a niggly cost that once you get to a certain size, you have to have HR. But for us, it allowed us to really maintain momentum as we were growing. And other companies were, getting smaller, not because the market wasn't there, but just because they couldn't get the staff and couldn't keep their staff, and they were just losing out on opportunities. And then the third one was in this last real boom period, we changed our operational structure, the way that we deliver projects, added a different role, a junior project management role. Again, allowed us to deliver more projects, take on more work.
I think there's two things there. Recognising that not too many businesses in our trade get to 60 people and go, yep, we want an HR manager, despite the fact that it's supercharged your growth. How have you taken those decisions around the junior PM and the additional estimating? Is it a gut decision, or is it, sit down, talk over lunch and grab our pen and paper and do the math on it?
Probably a bit of both, really. A lot of it is probably starts with a gut decision and then might be backed up with some scribbles on a notepad or a poorly put together spreadsheet around the size of the team and who's got what workload. Yes, we started monitoring each project manager's dollar value around that time, didn't we? Which kind of pointed out or highlighted to us, well, who is busy and who isn't busy, and where is the growth coming, and what does that person need to support them. And a bit of a realization that project management role was getting bigger than it used to be. To promote someone off the tools and into the office and into that project management role was a really big, steep learning curve and a critical role that's very customer facing.
The other thing that we've done successfully is we've tended to make those changes and then get the growth, rather than what we see quite a lot of members doing is get the growth and then try and put the changes in place. But by that time, typically the wheels start falling off. The owner gets dragged into operations, then they stop selling.
Stop pricing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they go, oh shit, we really could do with more project management. So they put the project management in place, and that coincides with reduced income because they stopped selling 6 months ago. And they go, oh, this is stupid. Why did we do all that? What we tried to do was go, well, we think the work's going to keep coming, so let's put the overhead in place first, and then let the work follow in behind it.
Earlier you spoke about the junior project manager. So how do you differentiate those two roles, and is that part of the reason for the tenure in your team?
So the junior project manager, we actually call them a project management assistant. They report to a project manager. So it's not like they're managing projects that are just more simple or whatever. They're literally just assisting the project manager.
I think what you're talking about, you see a mindset shift from a owner-operator almost who is across all the detail and doing a lot of the jobs to potentially where you guys are today, who can step out and do sales or take holidays like what we talked about before. But to even get to that stage, when you talk about a project manager who's looking after an assistant project manager, how do you enable your teams to look after your people so that you guys can actually get into your helicopter?
Yeah, like we've never been in charge of everything. Like we might have ultimate responsibility for everything, but we've never actually done everything. We skipped that step. So when I came the GM, we had like 40 staff. So I wasn't doing everything from day one.
Yeah, you weren't ever the sole project manager. I was always part of a project management team with 3 or 4 others.
And maybe that's a benefit that you guys have had that others need to reflect upon and think, how can they themselves maybe not skip that step, but move out of that step? And so the question for you guys
acknowledge that they're not in startup phase anymore. They've been in business for 15 years.
That's right. And how do you lead via others is probably the question.
It's all about the team culture. It's all about the people that you're bringing through, having them have the right passion for the company, the right care for the team, for our clients, that they want to do the right thing. There's a whole bunch of people in our office who I feel like, oh God, I better lift my game because I might let them down. Like they're so studious, so disciplined, such good customer service. It's almost gone the other way where we're having to live up to their standards. And so that's the kind of culture we've built over a long period of time. We've also built a team who are really good at stuff and are better at some of that stuff than we are. So for us to micromanage them or to not want to delegate things to them, not only is it silly from a management perspective, it's actually operationally not that smart. It's quite a simple decision because you go, well, actually, if I make him do it, not only do I don't have to do it myself, and it's a good chance he'll do it better than me.
Now, there's 2 things to culture for me, right? There's people who believe they don't have one, and I can tell you they do. Every business has got a culture. But where you talk about, Mike, feeling like you might be letting your team down if you don't uphold those values, I think that's the real benefit of a culture, right? Because if you've got 4 guys on the tool, 40 or 400, and you've got people who aren't upholding that, then they will quickly identify themselves and probably leave because they don't match the culture, right? But Josh, how do you guys keep that culture alive and not enforce it, but see that it becomes self-fulfilling?
I think that the other team members kind of live it and breathe it and operate it every day, that we don't really have to enforce anything at all. Turning up to work with a smile on your face and being helpful and friendly and nice and present and available, and kind of nothing special in that. That's just normal.
Outside looking in, though, I do see things which maybe you take for granted. And I spoke before about the values which are on the wall and the way that you award to it.
Other people might perceive it differently than we. It's just normal for us.
I think if you really wanted to analyze it, there's thousands of tiny micro decisions that have built that culture for over a long period of time. Consistent leadership, consistent values, consistent style. Everybody knows that I am keen to grow the company, that we're trying to win new clients, that we are not going to let anybody down, that we're going to be reliable, that we're going to be nice to each other. It's just kind of ingrained in the soul of the place because we've been that way for such a long period of time.
What are the values of Laser Electrical Rosebank?
Leading by example.
Yeah. Always improving.
Yep.
Team players.
Yep.
Totally dependable.
There's two more, I think.
Well-being.
Oh, yeah, health and
Wellbeing,
well-being. Yep.
And customer experience.
Could you run your business as effectively if you didn't have your values specified and spoken to?
No.
You know, I asked the question specifically about values because a lot of business, like culture, think it's a little bit airy-fairy and they don't need it, but they've got it spoken or not. But Mike, you were talking about consistency, and I think you can be consistently bad, but those little micro decisions add up to something which can be quite negative. How do you change tact if you take feedback or recognise that something's not working?
I think it's fine as the leader to admit that you've got it wrong. I try not to get it wrong all the time, but I'm certainly very open to changing my mind. We might make a decision that we're going to do something, and then we might say, actually, we're not doing that anymore. And when we won't blindly stick to it or just plow on with it because we said we're going to do it and we don't want to look like we're indecisive or something. Very open to getting different information, getting different perspectives from somebody or seeing something we hadn't thought of and going, actually, we're not going to do that anymore. Most things that are quite contentious in our business, we're pretty honest with the staff. If there's something negative, we try not to come up with some bullshit reason. We just tell them the actual story.
And I think like a no ego perspective, go with the flow, have a successful business, but without a personal agenda to push.
I think that's quite important from a trades perspective as well. You can have an ego, but it's got to be for the business before it's before yourself. And if you're turning up running a business of 100 people in a flash car or a helicopter, to your point earlier, that's quickly going to rub against the values that you talk about from a team player perspective, right? Mm. You've probably been quite lucky to step into a business with existing processes, but you've still put your own stamp on it and you're still looking at these other opportunities. Tell us about the other things that you guys are doing and how it complements the greater goal.
About 10 years ago, we acquired a small kind of technical business electrical inspections company. They were a supplier into our business and looking to retire, it kind of made sense to take that on. About 3 years ago, Josh and I set up an electrical consultancy business. Effectively, what those three companies do is they feed opportunities and work into each other. We're able to pick up an opportunity and get revenue out of it 3 times often. We're able to offer more services to our clients, say yes to more things, help them in more ways, rather than going, oh, that's not really us, or we can't really do that.
The question was a wee bit of a Trojan horse, and it goes back to how you tested appetite and need for a junior project manager or a new estimator, right? How have you gone in and looked at acquisitions like a Remuera, for example, and gone, this is a right idea and it's a right idea for now?
When I really want to do something, I can be quite persuasive. Some stuff as well, though, if you're talking about the project management assistant or this or that, that's where you start getting a blurred line between shareholders and operational decisions. I'm mostly making that as the managing director, and I'm just sense checking it with Josh and making sure I haven't come up with something stupid. And you got to find that balance, because if you drag Josh into every decision, every discussion, every whatever, you're back to having co-managers.
Change of tack slightly now. How has Laser enabled that growth over that time, and how do you see it enabling growth into the future as well?
2 real critical things that have helped us with growth is the Laser brand is really powerful, and it's potentially more powerful than some of the members realise in terms of opening doors, instant kind of credibility with clients. Like I literally say to people when I'm doing sales, I'm like, well, you know us, we're a big brand, we've been around for a long time. One guy even sang the jingle to me the other night at this event. So the brand thing is really powerful. I've got a lot from networking with the other members, talking to them about their businesses, their opportunities, sometimes just helping them with issues.
Yeah, and I think access to suppliers, the suite of suppliers which Laser brings, whether that's software or stationery or uniform or all those kind of mundane things, it takes a lot of that day-to-day thinking and admin out of where do we get all this stuff.
Funny you mentioned mundane when we were talking about recruitment before and the need for an HR manager, and you probably take a lot of those things for granted as part of the group. I know where to get my uniform. I know I can go to Office Max for my printer, stationery and cartridges when they run out.
This is where I get my fuel from.
Shit, it's a decision every time someone else needs to take it, right?
Also, just on this, what Laser offers, I think the BPMs are really good. They're offering great support and arranging things or putting ideas in front of us and making sure they get carried out.
Last question for me is what's next for you guys, and how do you, crystal ball, look into the next 3 years, for example? Josh?
I think for 3 years goes by pretty quickly. Probably what I see for us is another couple of small acquisitions. From the group, I'd just like to see an increased membership, an energised membership.
We've done a lot of work in the last 5 years to diversify our revenue. You know, when Josh and I started, 95% or more of our revenue would come out of residential construction projects, and now it's about 60%. And that 60% is a greater dollar value than what the old 95% was. So we've managed to grow other parts of the business, but not at the expense of our main thing, which is residential construction. We've set ourselves a bit of an internal goal around really growing the maintenance and servicing small projects side of the business and getting that much more substantial. Growing the business and having a focus on getting bigger and better is just good for you. You know, if you try to stay the same size, don't improve, that's the same as going backwards. And so we'll always have a growth mindset of trying to acquire new customers, trying to take on new team members, promoting our team members into more senior roles, and slowly but surely growing the company.
Just to close off, one tip that you'd give to a family member?
I would say you've got to be hungry. You've got to go out and you've got to talk to people, and you've got to demonstrate to them that you're keen to win the work, that you're in the game. Particularly when the market's good, some tradies get into this mode of like, oh, they're kind of lucky to have us. And I think that's a really dangerous mindset to get into, because one, they're not really lucky to have you. It's just that the market's busy. You've got to realize that tone is seeping into your team. And when the market's tougher, you will find your team doesn't have a customer service attitude. They don't have a culture of getting out and hustling and winning the work. It's not in their DNA. But in our company's DNA, that we are keen and we are hungry and we do want to get the work.
I think just don't say no. Don't say no to anything. We've been quite successful by just saying yes, even if we don't 100% know what we're getting into or what that job entails or whatever, dealing with the bullshit, dealing with the hard jobs, whether that's concrete cutting across a car park to put in an EV charger, or hydrovacing something, or really onerous health and safety requirements. Just do it. Just get it done. It's just another job. It's just part of the job. The more you can do those difficult projects, you're solving a problem for the customer.
Good to stretch the team. Like, don't get it wrong, we don't take on jobs that we don't think we can deliver. Like, there's parts of the market we don't have the skills for and we don't do them. But if it's like, oh, we're 90% there and we're going to have to stretch, well, that's where the growth comes from. That's where your team members, when we're pricing the job, we're building our experience, dealing with different things and pricing, working out different ways of doing the job. And then when we deliver the project, our electricians are having to stretch themselves and get better. The project management team are having to stretch themselves and get better. And it's just like working out. You know, if you go to the gym, not that this is a fucking terrible analogy, but I imagine that if somebody went to the gym and they didn't get up a sweat and that it wasn't hard, they might as well have not gone. Like, you're getting the gain in that hard bit. And then the next time you go, it's not as hard. And that's the type of stuff that we do. We take on some jobs that are a little bit challenging for us, and it's hard work, and it's, you know, sometimes you don't make that much money out of them. But then another one comes along and you're like, oh, that's like that other one, but it's actually not that bad. And then you get into it, and then you do it again, and you do it again. And then when you're selling, you go, we're good at this. We're experts at this.
And
so
it remains hard for someone else. You've built a competitive differentiator, right?
Yeah. You know, we've got ambitious, hardworking guys that work for us, and they do want to be challenged. You know, if they just had easy jobs all the time, they'd probably get bored. We hear stories where people turn away work because they're worried about their schedule. We've never turned away work because of our schedule. And if we did that, we would have had a lot of difficulties over the time, because what we've learned is the schedule's never right. And so we just say yes to everything and then jam it in to make it work.
And that's to your point about investing properly over the next 2 to 3 years to grow that service and maintenance team, because it's really easy to go, we're busy elsewhere, we'll take that team and we'll forget about the job that comes in overnight to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now we can't do it. Hey, on that note, guys, Josh, Mike, Rosebank, thank you very much for coming in. It's been a very enlightening chat. Appreciate the way that you've shared culture, that you've shared sales success, and just, I think, how you measure decisions between yourselves. So from us, thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed the episode, subscribe, like and follow where you get all your podcasts. Give us a review and find us at lasergroup.co.nz. And here's to another 25 years.
0800 get lasered.